Thanks for tuning in to Talking Point. I'm your host, Neeraj Shah. And the talking point today should be about how dire can the situation get for companies in the EPC space, in the capital goods space, in light of the fact that it is now not just the private sector, but the government, which may be also strapped for large capex. Or could it be that the market is too fearful in its assessment and things may not be as bad as people fear they could turn out to be, or certain sects of the people fear they could turn out to be? Well, one man who's known to speak his mind and speak candidly, even in the toughest of times, is Mr. MS Unnikrishnan of Thermax. They've just announced the results as well, and it'll be interesting to get his sense of how the things ahead could shape up like. Mr. Unnikrishnan, so good having you. Thanks much for taking the time out. Neeraj here. Good morning to you. Hope all is safe with you and family and employees.
Well, very fine. We have been able to convert a part of our work into work from home, which we thought may not be practical for heavy engineering companies. To our consternation, we found that it is practical. Only thing is that nobody compelled us to do it in the earlier past. So this is a new finding that we will be able to convert a good part of our work as a concept of work from home, which would mean that much more productivity. People don't have to be traveling in crowded areas to reach over there. And very happy to let you know that at this point of time when I am talking, all our factories are up and running. I'll be varying in capacities between 20% for the last open one in Pune to my chemical factory running, one of them running almost close to 80%. So the unlocking is already started. And equally for the kind of safety measures that you have taken for our employees who are coming to the various facilities of the company, we are generally protected from the infection also at this point of time, barring one isolated case in one of the factories or one of the sites outside the country where, it could have happened. Otherwise, we are fairly safe as an organization. You should also remember that we have got near to 4,000 permanent white-collar employees, blue-collar another 1,500. And at various sites of ours, we have nearly 5,000 people, workmen, who are engaged through contractors. So it's a fairly large contingent of people, and whether it is a worker or a helper or a managing director, safety is a safety, and we treat each one of them the same way when it comes to human safety. So happy to let you know that we're quite safe as a company at this point of time.
Of course, no doubts about that. Just wondering, though, before we get down to business, a quick assessment. You mentioned that a large portion of the workforce can work from home as well. Would you look to do that? Because it saves cost for sure. So would you look to shift a particular proportion of your employee base to work from home permanently?
We are going to extend the work from home concept for those who are affording to be doing it without any efficiency loss and any data loss. So we had to do a lot more work related to implementing additional software, hardware purchases, taken on lease, bought some of them, bandwidth expansion, and keeping the entire server 24/7 active for external people to log into. All put together, that upgradation is completed. We would see for a period of not less than 3 months more. Once even the lockdown is withdrawn, we will ensure that the people who are effectively working from home, they'll continue to be doing that. And ideally speaking, we would like to convert at least, in my opinion, 25 to 35% of work, depending upon which business segment are we talking about of Thermax. We should be able to convert them to work.
Okay. Let's talk about business. I would presume that because of the lockdown, and I think in the con call you kind of mentioned that as well, that because of the lockdown there has been an impact felt in Q4. How bad was the situation, or is the situation in Q1? And do you reckon that things can improve? I know you mentioned that all your sites are up and running, but I'm guessing the capacity utilization levels would be low right now.
Absolutely right. Frankly speaking, our international factories were running, but they are not so significant when it comes to the overall size of Thermax. Though I may have had my German factory running, maybe the Danish factory running, Polish factory running all through the lockdown period of India. but they contribute very less in comparison to not even double-digit percentage to the turnover. So the earliest to start in Thermax's Indian operations were the chemical factories in the first week of April. Being a part of the essential supplies group, we were allowed to be restarting our factory. We started it, and very happy to say that they have reached to a fairly decent capacity. But that again is only equivalent to 8% of Thermax's size. The engineering factories are the one which had difficulties of starting, and the last of the one which is in the city of Pune, we got the permission for starting that factory also 2 weeks back. So now all the factories are up and going. That's the point number one. But the manufacturing component of our entire activity as Thermax Group itself is maybe a 30% only. 70% of the activities do happen in our suppliers' premises. Some of them are large in nature, some of them are MSME in nature. And the next portion of the work happens in the construction of the various sites. So those are also now open. Most of the sites are on. Then we've got operation maintenance contract where we run plans for others, and service where we give service to our people. All of them are up and going. But please recognize for a fact that entire month of April, the country was in a virtual shutdown as far as manufacturing is concerned. May continue the same way, barring some of the essential areas. The real opening has happened only from June. So in that count, I would say that for us to continue, increasing our level of activity will depend a lot on our customers. And I'm very happy to let you know that at least 83%, 84% of our customers are confirmed back to us that we would like to continue the projects, which is the biggest worry that many people may have in the capital goods industry. When you're sitting on a 5,300 crore worth of carried forward orders into the new year from the April, if people were not to go along with that, ahead with that, you would have already completed the design in some of them part completed, part raw material purchase processing going on. You'll have worry, but thankfully, I'm very happy at this point of time that nothing of a major worry for the company at this point of time related to executing the orders which are there on the order book.
What about new orders, Mr. Unnikrishnan? That's the larger worry, isn't it? With the GDP slowing and private capex was anyways almost on a standstill of sorts, save a few industries. But would you reckon that the government would follow suit as well, because their balance sheet too would be strapped right now or for the next 1 year?
I would say that some of the government projects will certainly go slow. Some areas, who is going to be fundamentally creating the demand in the country is a question. Human beings have consumption necessity, which again has come down, which I think as sentiments improve, slowly it may come back, but it will take time for it. So the other demand is related to commodities, where it is going to be a lot dependent upon the government. So government will continue with the projects. I'm very confident about the fact that the areas where the government projects will continue is oil and gas. In any case, we have announced the refinery expansion programs and one fresh refinery. Barmer refinery is almost half ordered. The balance they have to be ordering. Similarly, there were 3 more refinery expansions which were at tendering stage, which also will proceed. Even during the shutdown and lockdown period, the offer submission dates were kept well on time, and discussions through, of course, the video conferencing oriented technical discussions already initiated in that. So that sector will continue to be investing. Yeah, albeit currently the number of vehicles on the road would have come down, but it'll catch back. I'm sure no economy in the world, forget about India alone, can be having an entire lockdown beyond a particular period of time. And I want to clarify to the viewers and to all of you that why did we have to go for such a very stringent and fairly long 75 days almost lockdown? Because at the onset of COVID, when we recognized it is going to be a major pandemic, our entire medical facilities available within the country was so restricted and limited. Number of ICU beds were grossly insufficient. So it is a wise decision taken by the government to have a lockdown done in a very quick succession, create capacity at least to a certain extent, fundamentally buying time to ensure that we don't get into a major problem. So it is a wise decision made, and I'm very happy I've been party for some of these committees related to task forces, which were creating the capacity for PPEs, ventilators, respirators, a lot of such things. And I think the country is currently comfortable. And continuously we'll have to build for maybe the next 6 to 7 month period more, because there could be ups and downs. There could be second peaking happening. First peaking hasn't happened so far in India. It may happen. So it's a wise decision done. Having done it, having created the facility, now to support the growth of economy and livelihood to be provided for people, we have to open the economy. And of course, all of us have to be careful about that. We don't become a
Yeah.
catalyst for infection increase. We have to be careful.
No, no, agree. But my question is not about the opening of the economy, Mr. Unnikrishnan. Let's assume the economy opens up, and not just from a Thermax perspective, but wouldn't government orders for the space at large, capital goods, EPC largely, be a lot softer because, frankly, there is only as much money, and a lot of money that is there on the books or not there on the books and has to be borrowed will go behind stimulus measures, which may not necessarily be in the pockets that the cap goods industry is serving.
Well, I need to say that stimulus announced, I'm not going to be when disseminating the numbers, though I may be aware of that number in each of the vertical. See, the way it is going to be done is our total deficit as a country. I'm talking about fiscal deficit,
Yes.
approximately 4+% at the central level. If we're going to add 3 to 3.5%, which is added by the states put together, we are already at maybe a 7.5 to 8% total budgetary deficit. To retain our sovereign rating at triple B minus, we can go up to maybe 11 to 12%. So you're talking about the total money going to come into the entire system over and above what people may be talking about is going to be limited to 3.5 to 4% of the entire GDP, which for the country you're talking about of a 3 trillion economy, 3% is, you know, it 90 to maybe 100, around $120 billion will be additionally available to the economy, either by printing notes or bonds or whichever
Sure.
way you want to. That money is the one which is going to be the real stimulus for consumption and also projects for the government. Indirectly, you're pumping it, it will be percolating through contracting, through maybe various other projects being involved. That is good enough for, in my opinion, because in any case, 3 months are already over, let's say that way. For the balance 9 months, we're talking about if the entire money may not come in the 9 month period, but at least maybe a $5 to $8 billion per month going to come to the system for the size of economy. Per capita, I don't calculate, it will be feeble sum, but for the size of economy, it is good enough for to be restarting. So let me come to, I was talking about sectorial. Yeah, I agree with you. Private capex, why should even for me also as a investor, as a company, when my capacity utilization is only at maybe a 40%, may go to maybe a 65% by December. I'm not in a hurry to put capacity. Yes, I fully agree with you. But the safety net I have today is a 5,300 crore worth of carry forward orders, a predominant part based on the cash flow of my customers. I will be able to execute it. In the meantime, trickle of orders are happening already. Even in the, I never expected anybody to hand over a purchase order with an advance check in the month of April. It did happen. A bit smaller number may not be, I mean, worthwhile talking right now, which of course I'll discuss only after the first quarter is over. May it improve? And June, I need to say that the inquiries have started coming in from all the sectors, including private sector. In any case, there were orders happening from the pharma industry, drug industry, food processing industry in the April and May, not to the level that we were getting in the last year. But I can see things opening up. See, what happened is when the lockdown started or prior to that, there was a fear factor in the minds of the entire population of the country and even the industrialists and people who operate companies as to what extent will COVID impact. There were people, including some of us, also spoke about countries will fail, companies will fail. Today, it has come to a level that the world is not going to be allowing countries to fail and companies to fail. Albeit some small countries may have some tougher situation, which in any case they were in. So the entire stimulus given by the global economies put together is almost equivalent to 8 to 12% of the global economy, which you're talking about a $10 trillion equivalent coming in. Of course, our future generation is going to pay for it, or we are going to overwork and pay for it in the next maybe 5 to 7 years. That is sufficient for the demand pickup to happen. And everybody is convinced about the fact that to handle and manage COVID, you need to have the economic engine kicking back. So it is going to kick back, but it will take
Would
time.
you? Okay. So would you believe, Mr. Unnikrishnan, that let's say you gave me some numbers, let's play around with those numbers, right? Current capacity utilization 25-30%, may go up to 60-65% by December. Would you believe, in all earnestness, that those numbers could actually inch up because either the government orders would look stronger, or maybe in some hope that private capex in some shape or form could come back from some unexpected quarters, if you will, capacity utilization number can move higher? Would you believe that can happen?
Certainly. See, the main trigger for this is nothing to do with economy. It's more to do with science. Imagine that tomorrow there is a vaccine available which is proven and getting proven by the day that it is very effective. Second, there is a treatment protocol, 1, 2, or 3 different kinds of treatment protocol, which has become effective with 95% of the patients coming in. Well, that is going to be changing the sentiments totally about humanity. The moment the sentiments come in, then the demand will start picking up. Currently, it is a total withdrawn condition. I mean, of course, in the month of April, it would have been something like, I just don't want to consume, I want to preserve everything. It is there as a human being and as an executive, as a managing director, as an investor also. That will turn when science gives a solution for it. And all of you are aware of it more than all, some of us, in terms of where are we on that. There are near to 200 plus companies who have been working on the vaccine, and there are 11 of them currently closer to human testing. And we should hear about some positive news in the next maybe 3 to 4 month period of time. Then, of course, manufacturing is going to be taking time, making it available to up to the workman level general population. And treatments also, people are finding combination. Currently, it is maybe a concoction of multiple drugs put together. There will also be creation of specific medication for it. I am expecting come maybe October, November, December period, the world will know how to control COVID. And then that is a reversal of consumption pattern going to happen. So when will you have a pre-COVID level going to happen in the world? I would say Q1 of next year, not the current year, where it can. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it can happen by that time. And no investment for 1 year of the capex nature, predominant part of it, there will be a surge going to happen in some sectors. Some sectors may take a much longer period of time. So you'll find it sectorally an improvement in Q1 of 21-22, and then progressively going up. Some of them may start only, investment ideas, especially related to, I would say, travel, hospitality. There are some sectors, tourism, this kind of places are going to be taking much longer period of time, maybe 2 or 3 years or 3 years also. But the one where my wares would go is capacity creation for manufacturing. In the consumption-oriented sector, project-oriented sector, which are EPC orientation. Some of them will happen. I'm very confident about it. It is not a write-off anymore, the way all of us said about 3 years, 3 months back. It is no more that kind of an activity.
No, not at all. But I'm trying to assess the extent of the slowdown. Would you reckon an earnings cut of 10-15% would do it, or would you reckon that FY21 could have a larger cut?
FY20 varying between, I may not want to give a guidance for Thermax, but I would say the sector which I come from, the best will be an early double digit, and the worst could be touching maybe a 20% kind of a number. That's the level. 20, even some of them may even have 25, because I'll tell you the reason. Those who have government projects, not to worry. The end of the day, sovereign will pay you one day. So your only worry is about how to get the raw
That's
material
debatable
and how
about when the cash flows come in.
Whereas where you're dealing with the private sector, you're going to be very clear that my customer has got a cash flow to support the project which I'm doing. And then that depends upon which sector am I. My orders in the consumption-oriented sectors, I'm quite confident about will cash back. They are all slow right now. He doesn't have a cash flow to support a project. Once his cash flow comes back to, what does it mean? Most of them do have a break-even point of 65-70%. The moment they cross the break-even point, they've got surplus money getting created. So with that as an equity, banks are plumb with money. They don't know whom to lend the money. So the interest rates also will come down further, because banks are today happy putting the money with the Reserve Bank of India for a pittance of a 3.75%, still paying to a fixed deposit holder maybe 5%. So it all change. So just wait for that to happen.
Well, I must say I'm trying very hard to find out from you where are the problem areas. You're sounding fairly optimistic. It's interesting to know that. One question then on the operational metrics front as well. Would you reckon that because of lower capacity utilization, maybe higher costs as well, that margins would show a downtick? Because I think Q4 showed some signs of that, isn't it, Mr. Unnikrishnan, for Thermax? Margins took a big beat.
100%. See, in a condition like this, what do you protect? The margins or the balance sheet? The question is there. I would rather have a contraction of margin, but it may not contract any further because it's containable. Because all of us are doing substantial cost cutting without taking manpower out. We've done everything possible, including possibly the salary cuts, which we have voluntarily accepted, starting with me to the level. But some levels we totally exonerated because those who are on an EMI level, we don't want to touch them. So only those who are at certain level and above, we have even done that. And a lot more of cost reduction exercises are happening. There are 30 teams working. So the cost reduction that will be affecting should protect the margin. But I can't say it is going to be accreting the margin. I would say it's not only for my company or my industry. Every industry, the per unit production cost is going to come down post-COVID also. And if companies are capable of holding on to those cost levels and cost matrices, I'm sure overall there will be an improvement in profitability for most of the industries. Because normally during good time, any company will sit into a level of a little more expensive. But now everybody is at the lowest of the level of expenses. You really need to continue in the same way. So that's as far as going for the margins are concerned. But let me clarify to you, Neeraj, not that I mean everything is hunky-dory or everything of the kind. Let me clarify to you. The areas of recovery difficulties are availability of workmen and the cost related to ensuring that we don't have another episode of when contract labor returning back. Industry will have to ensure that their welfare is taken care of. And the government is going to come with a social security scheme because I am also chairing the National Committee for Industrial Relations for CII. And post most of the current difficulties, political difficulties are over, the Parliament of India will have to pass a social security. And to implement it for the lowest of the cadre of labor and the minimum wage is going to be going up, there will be a little more of cost increase. The market has got to absorb it progressively. So that is a big challenge of availability of rural labor to come back and the preferences to change. And many will also now, having learned this, get into an automation level. So there will be capex for automation going to happen also. Those who are in the automation industry will be doing well because every industry will want to safeguard
Sure.
that. So that is another area going to be improving. That's about my understanding. And the last part, if you could have the resolution of some of the NPAs not done very quickly, because we knew what is the number of, what is the value of NPA, every bank will work that way. But the COVID-induced NPAs and the inability and how we're going to manage it, there was even suggestion about creating a bad bank for the country the way China did it earlier when they had NPA problem. India can't afford a bad bank. I'm sure we can't afford to do that. So how we are going to deal with some of those who are going to be entering into a negativity balance sheet and inability to be making good or maybe making the payments for the outstanding loans, some of those have to be addressed also. Those areas, what currently is not visible, that is the biggest problem before COVID happening. The banking sector was the biggest problem. NBFC was the biggest problem for the country. Now, they're going to reappear as COVID is under control. So those are structural systemic problems which we need to address as an economy and as a country. So they will rise up again. And those can, if not handled well, again retard the growth prospects of the country. That's my thinking.
Sure. Well, let's hope that that doesn't happen. But Mr. Unnikrishnan, a more bullish Mr. M.S. Unnikrishnan than what I would have thought, and that is actually music to the ears. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us, and all the best with Thermax as well as the space.
Thank you. Thank you, Neeraj.
And viewers, thanks for tuning into this edition